let's talk about our other team who is maybe on the other end of that spectrum, who's hurting our feelings a little bit.
So after we're talking about deep benches, we have to talk about the thin benches.
The ones that are not deep?
And I know everyone's like, of course, it's game one overreaction. These are concerns that I've had since summer. So my concerns over summer have just been proved during game one. Of course, by the time this is up, the game will be starting. So you most definitely will not see this until after the Nuggets have played. Do I hope that today they play a totally different ball game? Yes. We're going to talk about like the Nuggets and Thunder in this one, but that game was so hard for me because the first points of the game are a Jokic 3. And I'm like, oh, we're fucking winning the championship.
Me too. That's exactly what I said.
And the season right now, hand us the trophy.
Yeah.
Because if you're a Nuggets fan, he was not hitting those at the end of the season. And that was like our demise in the last 2 minutes of game 7. But the Nuggets just looked so old compared to the Thunder. And the Thunder came in and they looked like they came to prove a statement. I'm here.
1,000%.
Yes, we didn't, go far in the playoffs like we wanted to. That's, I'll always say experience does push teams farther. Like it's time and time again. You have to get your heart broken a couple times before you're ready to make that step.
Totally.
And I will always say it's very different to play, a team on any given night. They have back-to-backs than to plan for a game or plan for one team for 7 games, and learn from a team day, every other day or every couple days.
Yep.
Yes. So
totally. And OKC real quick is also one of those teams that has a deep bench like we were just talking about. Yes. And that is another difference, I think, as well.
They got Alex Caruso. And, even though Isaiah Hartenstein wasn't in there, it did not matter. Chet looked like, Wemby obviously did not have a great game on Thursday. Chet looked incredible. He
looks so
was
good.
Schooling Jokic a little bit. And what I said, the Nuggets just looked slow. They looked out of shape. They clearly were not in midseason form. So again, I'm not like, oh, the Nuggets are going to be the 10th seed after that one game. But we do have problems because I'm thinking about what we need to do to win another ring. And
that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
It just doesn't look great. I'll talk about the Thunder for a little bit because I want to go deeply into the Nuggets. But Alex Caruso, he came off the bench. Him and Lou Dort were everywhere.
Lou Dort always is little shit.
So annoying. And Lou Dort is always so fucking annoying. I can't stand him.
I know.
But I just want to say with the Thunder, they were playing with so much effort. Their effort was miles above the Nuggets. I think we were up by 7 points, and then it was a while where the starters would get down by 5, and then they'd stagger the bench again, and then we'd lose it. So I don't have much to say on the Thunder other than they came in to show, yes, we are who you thought we were. We are looking like we're going to be the first seed in the West. And moving into the Nuggets with that, the moment I knew that the game was over, there were 2 big plays. And the first,
am I boring you?
Am I boring you?
Okay? I'm getting tired from my monster. It's ADHD for you.
Literally. That's why I take naps after I take my Adderall, and everyone's like, "Are you okay?"
Feel it. No, they say Adderall naps are normal.
Yeah, if you're meant to be on it. So
correct. Yeah.
2 plays that basically told me this game was over, effort-wise. So there was a ball that, we lost, I think, on the other end, and it rolls out into the back court. No one on the Nuggets team went for it. Shea busted his ass to scoop and score. Grabbed the ball, did an easy, layup.
Literally gave him 2 free points.
And as soon as that happened, I was like, oh, they don't care. They are not here to win. And I was
their brain's not in it.
Bothered by that because that's admitting defeat to me. And again, Caitlin and I always talk about, we don't have to always be nice to our teams. If you see a lack of effort, you don't have to be well, maybe they were just tired. No, they sucked.
It's okay to be honest with it. Yes, it's okay to be honest with that. I think that we're allowed to criticize our team and see where things can be better.
Because we know they can be better.
Exactly. We know that they can be better. And that is a way that they could have been better in this game, is just by their general effort. Like, I swear to God, after halfway through the first quarter, once the Thunder started, because like the first half of the first quarter, the Nuggets were on fire. They were moving, off-ball movement. Yes, the spacing looked fantastic. Everyone was doing their job. There was effort. Everyone was fast. Everyone was hype. And I don't know if it was just like that, maybe general lack of conditioning, because Coach Malone had literally said,
like it.
Yes, Coach Malone literally said a week or two ago that conditioning felt like a problem and that no one was willing to like run and work and get in shape. And I think that that's showing. He was saying that sucks. You have to anyway. And it seems like they just seem like tired really quickly. Like they're not in mid-season form, which makes sense because it's not mid-season.
Yeah.
It's not mid-season, but I think it's important to acknowledge that like there are things that they can continue to work on. And I think that just like their general conditioning and everything like that will also help with the effort, because once they're conditioned and they're like in shape, it gives you like, you know, you have that boost to actually put in the effort and not just let your ass get kicked.
It just, I think like a lot of what bothered me too is that like last year, and they're like, oh, well, we like being the hunters instead of the hunted. I was like, you like, because the Celtics to me came out and were like, oh, we're getting another ring. Mm-hmm. And the Nuggets looked almost like, well, we got a championship. Like, what do you want from us? Like, we did that.
What else do you need? Yeah,
you
we
wanted
brought
another one?
So
I think like, again, so that's what I'm going to say about the Thunder. They looked amazing. They came to make a statement. They did. They look young. They look healthy. They look in shape. Of course, like our players aren't old, but they're older than the Thunder. So the Thunder continue to be a threat in the West. And especially because they weren't even shooting that great from like beyond the arc. So it's like, not like they were shooting the lights out and we were just having a bad night offensively.
Yeah, but like you had Shea floaters. Shea was driving. Like when you have your point guard being
mid-range.
When you have your point guard being aggressive like that and going into the paint and making those those mid-range floaters and those mid-range, you know, fadeaways and things like that.
Yeah.
Like you should not be getting beat on every single possession by every single one of these guys. And I think like it's important to note that like when we say that the Nuggets looked old, it's really because of like the lack of being in shape and that lack of especially when you're playing. Yes, especially when you're playing a team who is like young and spry,
the youngest like in the league.
Exactly. Like they're hype and they're athletic and they're fast and they want this. They are hungry. They're a hungry team who got out in the first round last year being the 1 seed. Yes, they want it. They came out and they showed that they want it. And I think that we kind of showed the opposite. I think we kind of showed a little bit of complacency. And
especially towards the end of the game with like the rebounding was lazy, which again, I'll say it every episode, effort. Like it just takes effort to put your hands up. Y'all are we have so many tall guys on our team. And then the last play that I also knew it was over was when AG was literally under the basket alone. And instead of dunking it, he kicked it out to CB for a corner 3 that obviously did not go in. I will say, before I get into my concerns about like the Nuggets as a whole, more than like this game, CB looked incredible.
He looked
of course,
so good.
The thing that was annoying is, you know, a lot of our concerns were like, okay, how's CB going to fit in the starters? Like I thought it was going to be okay, but I was like, as long as CB does semi-okay offensively, we're great.
He's like my only non-concern right now.
He's the only guy that did anything offensive. Like Jokic, of course, had a triple-double on a terrible. Like his terrible night is triple-double. Love him.
I love him so much.
The spacing. So the beginning of the first half of the first quarter was beautiful. The spacing was great. Everyone had room to operate. Literally after the first bench stint, I love Russell Westbrook, but he looked terrible. He was so sloppy. He was like doing those throwing the ball into the stands, like losing the ball. Like it was. Oh, it was so like. And then the offense was so clunky on the bench end that like my like eyes started twitching every time. Like I said, it was spooky because like Julian, there was a play where Julian made a point, but he like lost it between his legs and then like awkwardly got it behind. It was one of those things where you're like, oh, like my eyes.
Yeah. And I think like a big part of that even too was that like with like the offense is that like there were so many times that I saw like 2 guys cutting at the exact same time. And I'm like, then you're running into each other under the basket. Like they don't look cohesive. Like they don't look like they really understand what each other's gonna do yet.
Well, and Jokic was
interesting.
Was screwed because after like the first half of the first quarter, Jokic had like 4 guys in the paint. The spacing was awful. Like
it was so bad.
No one could get to the like rim. Jokic couldn't get to the rim. The paint was so crowded. It was so miserable. So my thing, like, I'm so upset with the front office side of things because yes, we have Nikola Jokic, we have Jamal Murray, we have all these people, but when they're not like, it scares me how inconsistent our starters can be. When you give like Jamal a max and like AG a max and Michael a max, like you get a max. And then like none of them are producing on any given night, which happens kind of a lot. Yeah. And like, Jamal needs, and I thought he was going to come out and like step up on like the first game of the season, but like he needs to be like playoff Murray, like in the regular season. Sometimes we have to, because like we're screwed. And I want to go over like the stats because so Christian Braun, again, he was my player of the game. He was great. He was the only plus in the plus minuses. He was a +8 out of everyone.
Good
you know,
for
Russell
him.
Westbrook
and
was a -24.
He was all over on both sides of the floor. CB, he did great.
I have like so many thoughts going in. I like keep forgetting like who, like which little points I want to touch on. But one of the things I wanted to say was so great about CB was that everyone knew that he was going to be the first player that was dared to shoot. You know, when when you have, you know, Michael Porter and Jamal and, you know, and my headphones coming out and Jamal. So
feel that.
Instead of just jacking up threes, Christian Braun just took it to the rim.
Straight up.
He's fast. So I was so impressed by that because I think they did just want him to like keep trying to get his 3 ball going. And I think, you know, you can still tell like the hesitation on his 3 ball. So it's almost so good to see him just going, you know what? I like know that this 3 might not go in, but I know I can go and get a layup. That
straight
was
to the basket.
So great by Christian Braun. So now you have like your other starters. So Jamal shot 30%, Michael Porter 29%. Michael was 5 of 17, 3 of 10 from 3, and then Jamal was 4 of 13, 2 of 5 from 3. And then Aaron was 5 of 12. Okay, so the amount of times that Aaron could have just dunked it.
So many.
It's so bad because
guaranteed points, babe.
They said multiple times over the summer that our shooting were like towing the line on concerning. Yeah, it's the offense is scary. And then you had Nikola Jokic come out and say, I don't think we're good shooters except maybe Jamal and Michael, which I feel like was almost a shot at like the front office, maybe just because I feel like the front office, you know, has focused way too much on expecting the young guys to develop, which is so important. I agree. But when you have Nikola Jokic, I almost compare it to like the New York Knicks, like they gave away all their money because they said our time is now. You know, we have Jalen Brown, like we Warriors. Have all these pieces, and they said, let's focus on now. Okay.
Yep.
Like
there's a window.
We're not going to have Nikola Jokic in 8 years. Yes, you'll probably have Peyton Watson and Julian Strawther. Are you going to be able to keep them on the same team probably in 8 years? Probably not even. So I think that's what's upsetting me the most. And again, I know it's dramatic, but after like the last couple of like the last few seasons, like all of these seasons that we've had a terrible bench, like it just looks so bad. And I literally compared over the summer Jokic to Jesus Christ because I feel like he was sent from, you know, the Serbia to suffer for us.
To sacrifice.
But I like can't imagine being at the front office and knowing you have Nikola Jokic, the best player in the world, 3-time MVP, should have been 4 Finals MVP, Western Conference MVP, and you aren't doing everything in your possibility to give him the deepest roster that you can. And so it's just frustrating. Like people like, you know, Michael Porter is like what, the 13th highest paid player in the league or 14th, 15th. Yeah. He's like, maybe not now with all the new contracts, but last year he was in like the top 15. I do believe, I could be wrong. And, you know, to have that being your 3-point sniper and to like have a good game like every couple weeks,
It hurts.
It hurts. And it's like
so bad.
And I made my comment about getting Buddy Hield, and someone was like, we have Michael Porter Jr. And I was like, I'm talking about even for the bench. He's on the bench for the Warriors. He could have been on our bench. And then, like I said, people were talking about Julian Strawther. I'm like, I'm talking about the now. I'm not talking about how Buddy Hield's going to look in 3 years when he's been in the league for 11 years.
This is what I talked to you about a little bit before about the last year Warriors. This is why I really liked the trades that the Warriors made, because the last year Warriors, while their bench was deep and they had a lot of really good young guys don't always take you very far, because again, they don't have all of that experience, and it's really important to have good vets on your bench, which is why Buddy Hield, DeAnthony Melton, and Kyle Anderson are fantastic, because when your starters are tired and when your young guys kind of need like that almost like leadership on the court and like a little bit of consistency, that's who does it, is those kind of like good bench vets.
They slow everything down, which is our championship run. We had Jeff Green, and Ish Smith, which were great. And we have DeAndre Jordan right now. And he, of course, is like an amazing presence, and he's an invaluable presence. He loves the Nuggets. I watched them asking, all the Denver Nuggets players, like their favorite place, the best, like they asked several questions, which was the best city, and he kept saying Denver. But the fact that he's not like playable to a high level, hurts, because we're paying it. And last year, that's how it felt. Like our bench was so young, and they just like looked like, even Julian Strawther, I know he's going to be good, but he went out there and you can tell like he's nervous, because those guys do know if they make a mistake, they are probably going to get benched for a little bit or get a talking to.
Yep. And this is the first time a lot of them are experiencing these types of minutes and these types of games
with the number one team.
Exactly. So really you're out here kind of giving them this experience, which is awesome. Again, it's something that's so invaluable. Like you need these guys to learn and to make mistakes. And so I think like playing them higher minutes at the beginning of the season is not a problem at all. But it is nice to have a couple of vets on the bench that you can, when Jokic has to go out, or when Jamal Murray has to go out, or MPJ or AG, or whatever, you can have like a couple of other good, comfortable vets come in and at least hold a lead for you, or even extend a lead, and not so much lose any lead that you've built.
So the thing that I thought was probably the strangest was Julian Strawther guarding SGA.
It was a choice.
Poor, he was trying so hard. And it felt like...
Good for him.
It felt like... Also, I guess we should address Caitlin's before. When you wonder why Caitlin looks a little different, it's because her battery died and we need to get new batteries. So she just
I'm using my computer camera. I look pink, which honestly...
Vibes are high. So it literally looked like SGA just looked at him and was like, y'all put him on?
What are you doing?
I feel like he was insulted. He was like, for real?
Really? Yeah, really? Are you sure?
But yeah, and then you have one of my biggest issues from previous years, which is Murray staggering with the bench. Jamal Murray in a 2-point guard lineup has never looked good in all my years of watching. It didn't work with Facu and Jamal. It didn't work with last year with Reggie Jackson and Jamal. It doesn't work with Russell Westbrook and Jamal. And Coach Malone doubled down and said, I think these minutes are going to be productive.
We have to figure it out.
No, because I was praying that we learned from last year that it doesn't work. And I don't even think he wants to run the bench unit. It just all looks bad. And I'm like, sometimes you just have to, like, if things aren't working and if things continuously look bad, sometimes you do need to scrap it all and just switch things up and see what happens.
It's okay to play with like lineups and to see who works better with who.
Especially because it's beginning of season. You don't need to double down on your choice. You can experiment. Like you have new guys. Peyton Watson's back in the lineup. I hate Jamal Murray in a 2-guard lineup with Russell Westbrook. I don't think it's ever going to look good. And
I'll be interested to see if they change anything up at all tonight or how that looks. I'll be really interested.
I have no idea. But my thing is I just feel like it's a lot of wasting Jokic at his prime. And I really wish that they would be the people that are like, the future is now, not in 5 years when these other guys develop and Jokic is gone. Like these guys are going to be amazing players, but we need guys that are amazing players right now. And I feel like Jokic could have easily had 2 championships by now, and it's just frustrating.
And I know that I use the Warriors as an example a lot, but that's because I think of like Steph Curry and making sure that you build a good team around Steph Curry. When you have one of the best players in the world, you have to make sure that you are giving them the proper weapons to play their best brand of basketball and to give them success. And the Warriors went on like this whole 2 timeline thing where they were like, you know, wanting to develop young players at the same time as like getting vets and taking them to the championship. And it just doesn't always work like that. Like you can have a few young players that you develop, but you shouldn't have 6 young players that you're developing when you have Nikola Jokic who's ready to win a championship and who's in his prime.
Yeah, it's just so frustrating. And again, like when you have Jokic make comments, like if we didn't know
we
this
suck
from
at shooting.
Caitlin and I's first few episodes, the team that wins always 100% of the time scores more points